Poison Ivy, issue 27, G. Willow Wilson writing with Marcio Takara on the art.
Take a break, look at some covers. I'm going to talk about Pam and Janet from HR and their whole entire, not the entire time, but man, there's some sloppy soap opera relationship dynamics going on in this book, and I'm surprised how much I enjoy that. But yeah, this issue starts with Pam walking through Gotham, and there's wanted posters all over because she's been named as the leader of the Green Knights, or the Order of the Green Knight, and people are staring at her as she's walking through. And so Janet calls and is like, you got to come back. I'm at home. We got to think this through. And as Pam's on the phone, a batarang lands near her head. So she drops her phone, ducks into an alley, and Batman's there. And they do a really cool thing here where you never get a good view of Batman because this is in the day. He's always in the shadow. And him and Pam have a standoff where she goes full Ivy and she says, stay back. And in her monologue in the narration boxes, she talks about how, every time we fight, it's a stalemate. Right? We're never, we know each other so well. And she just explains to him that, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't do anything. You have to trust me. Right? I've earned that. And Batman disagrees and goes, this is one of your things. You would, of course, inspire this cult. They blew up a grocery store in the name of ecology. This is an Ivy thing. And she swears it wasn't him. And he's like, have I ever denied any of the crimes? Or have I always owned up to you? And Batman hesitates. And so they end up reaching an understanding where she tells him, like, look, I'm going to find out why they're doing this. It doesn't make sense to me, but, I'm going to need you to get off my back so I can do what I need to do. And if there's anything, that I need help with, I'll know how to find you, and I'll clean it up. But we never had this meeting. And before Batman leaves, he goes, what meeting? And Batman's out of the scene. So Ivy starts, to go back, meet up with Janet. They're trying to figure out where they're going to go because they can't stay in her apartment because people know that's where she lives. So they settle on the town that has just popped up out of the swamp. And Janet's like, a creepy ghost town in the middle of the swamp. What are we doing? This is, I can't live here. And Pam's like, I've been through here. You don't know if, you don't know if there's ghosts or anything. People would kill to be in here, to where we get this nice interaction where Janet just hesitates and is like, well, are we sure they didn't, kill to live here? So Pam leaves Janet there to go investigate this bombing in the grocery store. While Janet's there, she gets spooked by something that's kind of going through the town. Now, I don't know if it's just her being afraid of her own shadow or, just being, again, she's spooking herself out. So she calls the one friend that she can count on, and that's Killer Croc. And so Croc comes up out of the sewers, answers the phone, and is like, look, he can't believe that Pam left her there by herself. He's like, I know where that is. I will meet you there. So an hour later, they come through, and Croc asks Janet, like, hey, so what's up with this town? What have you seen? And Janet's like, well, no, I really haven't left. And Croc's like, well, look, this is what I do in Gotham is you can find some really cool stuff in the sewers. Maybe we can get some like hints about what had happened here. And so Janet follows Croc into the sewers, and they find this graffiti written all over that just says, we tried, which again, Janet's a bit jumpy. She's like, look, this is sinister. What is it? And Croc's like, yeah, you see graffiti all the time. It can't be anything. And, and in that moment where she feels care, she gives Croc a kiss. And then their scene ends with, and this is how the book ends, but so I'll jump back to Ivy, but that they're making out in the sewer. And so the Janet and Croc and Janet and Ivy and Janet and Harley and Ivy, there's this whole messy soap opera thing going on, and it's very entertaining. But so while Croc and Janet are doing their thing, Ivy goes to investigate this bombing, and she kind of waltzes in. She's wearing this yellow sundress, big sun hat. She's not inconspicuous at all. And a cop goes to stop her, and she uses some of her pheromones and what else does she say? Her pheromones and biotoxins to just knock the cop out. And she's like, the only thing that is going to happen to him is he'll wake up with a really bad headache. And that she mentioned she's starting to feel like her old self again, which is good. She said after the rebirth and all the stuff with Woodrew, she needed this. And as she's, looking over like the chalk outlines and just the carnage of the explosion, there's this like graffiti painting of what looks like a living giant green tree with candles around it. So it looks almost like not an altar, but like a worship space. And she turns around and she sees the person that had spray painted it there. And he's dressed like the other guys that we saw that were involved in the Order of the Green Knight. And she Ivy's up and stops him. And he's like astonished and starts going on. He's like, oh, the prophet was right. You're really here. Are you proud of what we've done? And she's like, yo, what is going on? He's like, well, you appeared to the first disciple in a dream and you defeated the Green Man, and basically describes her struggle with Woodrew. And so Pam's very concerned because she's like, what? How could any of these people know about that, right? That was out in Slaughter Swamp. Only her and her immediate group were aware of that. But, so he, she lifts him up and is like, look, I'm not your Green Knight. I don't know who you think I am. And she tells him, like, I don't want to lead your cult. Like, here's the thing. Bombing hurts the earth too. That's why we kind of call it scorched earth. Because no matter who wins, the earth always loses, right? And so he's convinced, but he goes, but what about them? And Ivy turns around, and it's just this beautiful page of her in her full Ivy gear with these people wearing green hoodies and green masks, standing behind her, almost like waiting for her to give orders. So Ivy has entered kind of this messiah not a messiah complex for her, but someone has dubbed her the Green Knight. And there's a cult that has gone up around her to which that she's not comfortable with, right? She doesn't want to be anybody's deity. She just wants to be Pam or Ivy or whoever she is. Really solid issue. Really enjoying what Wilson's doing with the story. And just Takara's art, again, I do it every time Takara does the art. His Pam is gorgeous to look at. Just the way that he draws her in the full Ivy. She almost always has like this rose corsage up on the upper part of the chest piece of her costume. And it just, it really makes the just typical green bodysuit pop out. And then it also has like a lot of texture to it. And it's just a really fun design. All the stuff in the swamp, drawn kind of creepy to deal with the ghost elements. But yeah, man, I can't get over how great this book is always to look at. And yeah, so I'm going to give Poison Ivy an 8.5.